Ready for the dictation? 3, 2, 1, start. The Indian Constitution guarantees freedom of speech to all Indians regardless of gender, class, religion, or belief. These are guaranteed fundamental freedoms that define the values of democracy in the country. Freedom of religion, expressing love and affection, expressing our views and conflicting ideas without harmful feelings, and creating violence are integral parts of India is built on. India and Indians are known for their national fabric and loading values of global democracy. Indians stand out for their secularism and for spreading democratic values across the world. Therefore, it is necessary to enforce freedom of speech in India to preserve and celebrate our democracy. Freedom of speech is not limited to our fundamental rights. It is, in fact, an important function that every citizen must do adequately to save the essence of our democracy. The freedom of speech found in older democratic countries such as the UK, the USA, France, or Germany is not evident in authoritarian governments like Malaysia, China, or Syria, and failed democratic countries like Pakistan. These regimes have been unable because of a lack of free speech in their countries. Freedom of speech in the country can be rightly equated with media freedom. Vital media show a robust, accessible, and healthy democracy that seeks to critique and oppose constructively. Some governments strongly oppose any form of opposition that comes their way and try to block out possible words against them. This is a dangerous example for the world. For instance, there are more than 130 crore people in India, and we can be sure that not everyone will have the same opinion and perspective on the topic. The differences in views and mutual respect we have for each other in the policy making body and make true democracy. All aspects and angles of the topic should be considered before making an informed choice. A good democracy will involve all stakeholders before formulating a policy. Still, a bad one will blind the eyes of its critics and adopt unilateral and dictatorial policies and force its citizens to go down. One of the most prominent examples of restricting freedom of speech in India is the suppression of criticism through British law. Through Section 124A of the Indian Penal Code, rebellion law states that if a person verbally expressed hatred, contempt, or provocation in the government, or a person may be fined or imprisoned, or both. This law has never been applied to its spirit. The British used this law to silence the Indian freedom fighters. Now the Indian ruling parties are using these to suppress the opposition and thus undermine the country's democratic principles. Also, various laws protect the people of India from taking full advantage of their freedom of speech. But while the rules are still in place, their application of these rules seems to be a significant challenge for the authorities. At the same time, freedom of speech and expression is entirely lacking. People cannot create violence, hatred, discrimination, and social ills in the name of freedom of speech. This would be highly damaging to the very reason why freedom of speech has been tolerated in the first place. Freedom of speech should not lead to chaos in the country. During the abolition of Article 370 in Kashmir, freedom of speech was curtailed, not because the government sought to suppress democratic values, but to curb the spread of false news, imposing restrictions on terrorism and any other form of civil strike in the area. Freedom of speech gives people of our country the freedom to express them, to be able to share their ideas, views, and opinions openly, where the public and the media can express and comment on any political activities, and can also be able to express their dissent towards anything they think is not appropriate. Different countries have different restrictions on their freedom of speech, and it is not proper to comment on that. In fact, there are some countries which does not allow this fundamental right. For example, North Korea, where neither the media nor the public have any right to speak against or even for the government, and it is punishable offense to openly criticize the government or the anyone in particular. While freedom of speech lets the society grow, it could have certain negative outcomes. It should not be used to disrespect or instigate others. The media too should not misuse it. We, the people of the nation, should act responsibly towards utilizing its freedom of speech and expression. Luckily, we are to be citizens of India. It is a nation that respects all its citizens and gives them the rights needed for their development and growth. A fundamental right of every citizens of India, the freedom of speech allows citizens to share their individual thoughts and views. Stop. Thank you.
क्या चाहिए बदले में हमें? बस एक प्यारा सा लाइक, तो इस वीडियो को लाइक कर देना और सब्सक्राइब कर दो यार। सब्सक्राइब यार, सभी की मांगे मैं पूरी करता हूँ। मेरी एक ही तो मांग रहती है कि सब्सक्राइब कर दो चैनल को, और जिन्होंने नहीं किया है कर दो यार, हाथ जोड़ के विनती है।